Just a couple of quick comments. First off, I want to know what tree paste is. So, I'll make you a deal. I'll tell you a little bit about the internet and you tell me what that is after. And just as a reminder, we will have a bit of a cocktail networking reception at the end of this, so make sure you stick around for that. And the other one was to the marketing student. You should talk to some of my directors because I've been spending all my time in the law and policy classes at Ottawa U, and clearly I need to get out to the marketing ones. That probably says something about internet governance and how we operate. But, pardon me. J'aimerais remercier nos présentateurs. Le point de vue diversifié des discussions ce matin nous ont vraiment aidé à faire un tour complet de la question. Je tiens à remercier Bill Graham et Bertrand de la Chapelle, avec lesquels j'adore entreprendre des discussions de celles que nous avons eues aujourd'hui. Quant à la présentation de Robert Herjavec, elle s'est prouvée très informative et un peu inspirante aussi. Je m'attends d'un moment à l'autre à recevoir un courriel de sa part au sujet de mon idée géniale. And thank you, Christopher, for being our guide throughout the day and keeping us on time during our presentations. I know how hard it can be to herd the cats sometimes, so a job very well done. I would also like to thank a couple of volunteers we had with us today. Adam Webb and Mark Turcotte have been assisting us throughout the day. Guys, could you just put your hand up and thank you very much. I would also be remiss if I didn't thank my team from CIRA, who are the folks who really do the heavy lifting from start to finish, from the surveys, from the consultations, and in a sense to this particular juncture, who really put this show on. So I'd like to personally say thank you very much. You've done a great job. And I'm sure all the folks here would echo my sentiments. Thank you to the CIRA team. But most of all, I'd like to thank all of you who came out to this event today and participated in this discussion. It's very heartening to see the passion that comes out for internet governance, because as I've said a number of times, it can be a somewhat esoteric subject, so it's incredibly important that people both understand and engage and have passion for it and become those ambassadors out in your respective communities. So you know, generally speaking, most of us don't tend to give a lot of thought about how the internet is run or who runs it, yet the internet has become the driver for a new knowledge-based economy and has really radically altered the ways in which we communicate with each other. It's no exaggeration to say that it is the greatest driver of social change since the steam engine, the printing press. For some, this does not represent opportunity. In fact, where we see opportunity, some others see threats. And we don't have to look very far to see how that view manifests itself. We see it in the attacks from nations and other bodies on the multi-stakeholder model, something Bill and Bertrand and I talked about a bit this morning. And we see it in international treaty legislation like ACTA, the Anti-Counterfeiting Trade Agreement, or even potentially the impacts of SOPA that would have put limits on internet-based issues with somewhat, almost in a sense, an out-of-date business model, or lack of understanding of that enabling technology that the internet is. So let's also not forget that there are nations that do not have the best interests in terms of freedom and freedom of access to the internet online, and we need to keep those global issues in mind. If there's one thing I want to leave you with, it is this today, that yes, we as digital citizens have and demand digital rights. However, I would argue, like any other democracy, with rights come responsibilities. And what is our responsibility? And we've talked about it much today. We all know that with information comes power. SOPA was killed in the US because there were enough people and organizations who understood the impact it would have on the free and open internet. And they were able to communicate that knowledge and mobilize people to take a stand. But it all started with a group who were informed about the issues and who cared enough to stand up and talk about them. And I can tell you for a fact that SOPA is over for now, anyway. Although the multi-stakeholder model itself is standing, there are definitely a number of threats that we need to pay attention to in terms of the internet overall. And you heard from our panelists this morning, and you'll hear a lot about it again in the media in 2012. These issues will continue to manifest themselves. So we may be able to temporarily stop something like SOPA, but only if we are informed and we're engaged. We collectively in this room, among others, need to be the digital leaders. And those of us here are clearly going to be the advocates and emissaries among our friends, our families, our colleagues, and our communities. So let's talk about digital rights and digital responsibilities with basically anybody who'll listen. Talk about issues of internet governance with the folks that you know, and you know what? It just takes somebody to lead, and typically others are going to follow and become interested because it is a fascinating subject area. This conversation needs to be ongoing, not just once a year, and I think Bertrand made a very interesting comment. It's not just once a year. This should just be a marker along the way. I like the description of a watering hole. But it's events like these shouldn't be just one-time standalone events, and that's what we're trying to get this conversation going and keep it going. This conversation needs to be brought to the people who aren't in the room. We, generally speaking, are people interested in this topic, but it's all the people outside of this room that we need to also communicate to. So what's next for the Canadian Internet Forum? The resulting white paper from this conversation will be forwarded to you by the end of March, probably with a survey. And the paper will also be shared with our government and our private sector partners. I'll also be presenting it at the Global Internet Governance Forum this fall in Azerbaijan, this coming November. And if there's anyone else you think should hear about this, please let me know. I look forward to continuing this conversation with you, and we do actually have an online forum. So please join us online for the discussion groups that we host. We do it on LinkedIn, on Twitter, Facebook. So we have a number of forums that you can engage in the conversation about this event on. And I hope you'll continue with us on this journey, because it is a journey, not a specific event or moment in time. So stay tuned for the CIF version 3. ICANN was mentioned earlier as the organization that's really at the heart of internet governance, and I just want to put a bit of a plug in that CIRA, our organization, is going to be proud to play host to an ICANN meeting in Toronto this coming October. So there'll be literally thousands of people who are at the heart of internet governance coming to Canada to discuss the issues of the internet at a very high level and right down to a grassroots functional level. So anybody can attend. It's one of the beauties of the multi-stakeholder model. Anybody can attend at no cost. Now think about that for a minute. The organization that is really at the core of governing one of the greatest drivers of social and economic progress allows anybody to come and attend its meetings for free and have a say and speak. So I think you'd be hard-pressed to find another organization or industry who enables that kind of interaction at the highest levels. Because the fact is, not only can anyone attend ICANN meetings, but you really get to make your voice heard. You get to speak too. So please, If you're in Toronto in October, make sure you make plans to attend this critical event in the Internet Governance Calendar. It's October 14th to 19th, and you can visit icann.org for updates. So I hope you'll join us now for some networking in the foyer, which is just outside this room, and I look forward to the ongoing discussion. So thank you very much for your participation, and have a great evening. Look forward to chatting with you out there. Thank you.